if I look a little bit shiny, it's because I just put my moisturizer on because it's getting late and I gotta use my night cream. So I asked people on Twitter earlier on what video they'd like me to make for this channel. Yeah, I'm actually making a video for a change. And the majority of people said they wanted me to talk about traveling alone. I am what I would like to call a solo traveler. Basically, just means that you travel solo. I just came back from a 5-day holiday in Orlando, and I went by myself, and just me, myself, and I loved it. I loved being alone. I'm someone that is now very used to traveling alone and very keen to travel alone. If I had a choice between sightseeing with friends or sightseeing alone, I will always choose being alone. Does it make me a loner? Probably. Does it make me an introvert? Definitely. Does it make me a solo traveler? Hell yes it does. I'm guessing most of you guys wanted me to make this video because you want to travel alone, or perhaps you just want to find out the reasons why anyone would want to do it. So here are my reasons as to why I personally think, and it's okay to think differently, why I personally think traveling alone is better than traveling with other people. Or to put it nicer, why I like traveling solo. Number one, this is definitely more of a personal thing, but I love music. Believe it or not, I love listening to music. I know that sounds like the most basic Tinder bio of all time. Emma, 25, long walks on the beach, listening to music. Hit me up for a good time. But I find that when you're traveling alone, you don't have to interact with people. You get to choose who you talk to, and most of the time, especially on planes and trains and just walking around, you're not obliged to make conversation with anybody. So you can just put your headphones on, you can open your Spotify, hashtag not spawn. You can just listen to whatever you like. But I find that when I travel with friends, like, it's kind of the social norm to talk to the people you're with, especially when you're traveling. I cannot think of anything worse than being forced, or at least forcing myself to talk to someone, even someone that I love, for like 8 hours on a plane. That's my idea of hell. That will ruin my holiday. It's especially worse when a stranger tries to talk to you. Oh, just stop. Don't talk to me. Like, not in a rude way, but please, I will have an attack. Number two, which leads on very nicely, you are in complete control of your social interactions. I, as I have said many, many times, am an introvert. If there was a scale from like extrovert to introvert, I would say I'm about here. Maybe even here sometimes, and I'm way off the scale. I get mentally drained if I feel as though I'm being made to make conversation. And as such, I don't really get lonely, like, at all. I honestly think I could have a holiday for at least 3 to 4 months of maybe just phoning my dad once a day from the other side of the world before I started to get a little bit lonely. I don't need to talk to anybody. I like the sound of my own voice. I'm, as you know, quite a dick. There's nothing better than hearing myself talk. I do talk to myself all of the time. But for me especially, just talking to a shop assistant and just saying, can I have this, thank you very much, here's the cash. That's more than enough social interaction for a whole day for me. Plus I have you guys on Twitter and Facebook, and who uses Facebook? But as I said, I find that when I am being forced to make conversation, if I'm forced to stay out with people, then I'm unhappy, completely unhappy, which leads me on to my final point. I think it's my final point. We'll see. I'm someone, this will probably come as no shock to anybody, I'm someone that has to be in complete control of my surroundings. I'm not saying I'm a control freak, because that's quite a dodgy term to use for anybody. But if I'm not able to say, right, I'm going home now, guys, you know, I've had enough, see you later, and I feel like I'm forced to stay in that situation with my friends or strangers or family, and I can't get out because I've promised my friends that I'll go and see this with them, or like I've promised to go shopping with them, I will be really miserable. And I personally find that being my own boss, which I have been since the age of 21, been very privileged to live that life. Being my own boss, being in charge of my entire day, making a schedule for myself, or even just going, you know what? I don't want to do anything today. Being able to make that choice without feeling guilty for other people, like feeling like I'm making them follow what I do, or them making me feel like I have to follow them. It's just, it is the best. It is the absolute best. You can do whatever you want to do. If you want to go shopping, you can go shopping. It doesn't interfere with anybody else's day. If you want to just stay in the hotel and do some work, or even just nap until 1 p.m, you can do it, and you'll get no judgment except the judgment from yourself. Of course, traveling alone isn't for everybody. If you're someone that really heavily relies on social interaction, if you do call yourself an extrovert, or if you're on this side of the scale, you'll start to get lonely after like maybe a couple of days, maybe even one day if you're like really extroverted and you have to talk to people. But in which case, I would say you can make new friends on holiday. There will always be people by the pool, there will be people in bars, there's always someone that you can talk to, and guess what? You'll have that choice. Traveling alone, for me, is just absolute freedom. And it's unparalleled. That said, I do have some tips for traveling alone because I have done it many times now. And if you were thinking about possibly trying it out, this is what I would recommend for you. Number one, make a schedule for yourself, especially if you're like going abroad, you know, you're going on an actual holiday. Look up all of the things like on TripAdvisor or something of the things that you want to do, like weeks in advance, because time is short. And if you are anything like me, you might not be. The downside to being your own boss is just being a bit lazy, perhaps. You know, just feeling unmotivated, like, oh, no one can judge me, I can do what I want, I'm just gonna sit in the hotel for 4 days. There were times in Orlando where I decided to stay in the hotel, and that's absolutely fine, it was my choice, but I probably could have been out doing something more exciting than just being in my hotel room editing a video. The things I do for you. Make a schedule, make a list of all the things that you want to do, and then plan out what days you're gonna do them on. Be meticulous with your planning. Literally do like dates and times and where you want to be at certain points, because you're not going to have a friend that is encouraging you to get out of bed and see the sights. It's just you. Leads me on to tip number 2, have a budget. Go to the post office if you live in the UK and get your travel money, like physical notes, like a few weeks before, and just set yourself a certain limit of cash that you're gonna spend out there, because again, you are your own boss. No one's going to judge you for how much you spend, which means that you might tend to, for instance, I went to Sephora and I probably shouldn't have gone to Sephora. But for the most part, like the travel money that I had, I still have some left over. Like the money that I set aside for myself, I managed to stick mostly within that, because like I didn't have enough money on me at the time to pay for my stuff in Sephora. You get my point, right? Budget yourself. Oh, and also, it's gonna be very tempting to just eat snacks all day, because when you're with a friend, you're kind of more encouraged to go to like fancy restaurants and bars, you know, because it's just what you do with friends. But when you're alone, at least especially when I'm alone, I tend to snack. Don't just go to 7-Eleven and get 3 share bags of Doritos, because you will eat them all, obviously. But if you are gonna get fizzy peaches, bring me back a bag, because they are my favorite sweet in the world. Anyway, I'm kind of digressing. Number 3, I guess this is probably the most serious point. One of the downsides to traveling alone is you do have to be more vigilant. You have to be more careful with your stuff. You have to look out for your bag a bit more. You have to watch out for pickpocketing a little bit more, because, you know, people will target you if you're alone. That is a downside, a big downside. It is uncommon. It's not something that is definitely going to happen to you, obviously, but just know that you are at a higher risk of perhaps, you know, being mugged or attacked or something. So you just need to be more careful. Get up earlier than you'd planned. Get up at like 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning, maybe even earlier, and get all of your stuff done for the day while the sun is shining and you're in broad daylight. Once people start going home and the sun is setting, you will need to go back to the hotel, which, you know, is fine by me because I got my 3 share bags of Doritos to myself. But you are going to be more vulnerable. There are going to be certain places where perhaps, you know, you might go if you had someone with you, or if you're in a big group of people, that you wouldn't be able to go alone. I wouldn't have dreamed to go into like a bar by myself, but that's number 1, because I'm introverted. Number 2, you know, it's just a little bit risky just being by yourself in a foreign country, going to bars and perhaps getting drunk, etc. I would not recommend going to parties and clubs and bars, etc. by yourself, but that's just me. You know, it is up to you, but try and do all of the social stuff in broad daylight, and just try to make sure that there are people, you know, around you that can see what's going on. I'm kind of sad to end it on a sour note because it is uncommon. It is rare that something bad will happen to you. I was in Florida, you know, the land of like Trump and guns, no offense. I was by myself for 5 days, nothing bad happened. I honestly had the best time, and if I'm honest, I think I enjoyed it more than I would have if any of my friends were gonna come with me. I got to be in complete control of my social interactions. I got to choose what I did and when and at what time. I wasn't waiting around for anybody. No one was waiting around for me. I got drunk at Disneyland. I fired a machine gun. I did that. That's gonna be in my weekly vlog on my main channel. If you want to see me firing a machine gun, I did it. And like, I did everything that I would have done had a friend been there anyway. But I got to be by myself and just recharge my batteries. So I hope that you found this helpful. If you want to start traveling alone, I'd suggest going somewhere, not like local, but definitely in your own country. Get used to your own company. See if you can handle it for just a couple of days being away from the people you're close to. Like I said, I reckon I could honestly go for like 3 or 4 months before I started to feel really weird, but everybody is different. So let me know if you have ever traveled alone. Would you travel alone? And if you're thinking about it, how long do you reckon you could last by yourself in your own company? Let me know in the comments below. We'll have a discussion, and I will see you guys in my next video. Go and be by yourselves. It's great.